Hi, Amy, and everyone else watching this video. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the history of my dissertation and my project. So, I first became aware of GTA training when my brother was getting his MA in literature in Moscow, Idaho. So, at that time, I was an undergrad in an English writing program, and I was a tutor in our writing center. And my brother had never taken a composition class, had never been a writing center tutor, and struggled a lot. He had a 4-day long training and then immediately jumped in and started teaching. And I remember him calling me in frustration to ask me all sorts of questions about best practices and all of this strange labor that was put on me as an undergraduate to support my brother. I became increasingly aware of some of the institutional differences in my own GTA training at North Carolina State University. So here we had the credit requirement where you had to have 18 credits of graduate work in English before you could teach in North Carolina. So that really dictated a lot of what we did. And a lot of my peers had frustrations about observing a class for the spring semester or co-teaching, and there was such a wide range of opportunities depending on who your mentor was. So for example, I got to teach an entire unit independently from my mentor, as well as some smaller lessons throughout the semester. Other GTAs only observed and others were only graders. So there was a huge disparity between opportunities and just experiences that really shaped the way we approached mentorship and teaching, the way we build course materials, and how we envision the role of training. This became especially interesting to me when I came to UA, where I noticed no one is happy with GTA training. So at NC State, people were frustrated by the amount of time it took before they got to teach, whereas here people felt like they wanted more time and more training before they got to teach. So I think that the institutional requirements and just practices really influences training, but I think the perceptions of training from GTAs varies, and I think the anxiety that students and new teachers feel really impacts the way that they view teaching no matter what institution they are at. So I became increasingly aware too that not everyone wants to be a teacher. As someone who grew up in a household of teachers where education was constantly talked about, I had a very different outlook compared to someone like my peers who don't want to teach. Even my brother, even though we grew up in the same environment, he does not want to teach at all. And felt kind of frustrated by the lack of experiences that he got to have outside of teaching in grad school. And so I think just this really interesting tension between being hired to teach, even if that's not necessarily your goal in graduate school, as well as the way that it's framed by your mentors can really shape teacher identity. So my brother, for example, was told that he was there to get his lit degree and that should be his focus, not teaching. And that was reinforced and brought up constantly by the department that he was in, which resonates with some of the tensions we see here in this program at UA. So I became just increasingly interested in these conversations surrounding teacher training, but I also became very excited about the opportunities that it presents. So one of my training requirements at NC State was professional development. And one of my favorite things that I did there was after each 8 a.m. class, my friend Kim Lilienthal and I would debrief our teaching, and we would share resources and talk. And it led to a brown bag on kinesthetic and tactile learning and lesson plans. And I just really loved those conversations with the instructors, the professors, the other GTAs, and everyone involved in teaching. And I started to notice that GTAs inhabit a very strange place where they are bringing in new lessons and new ideas from their past experiences and from just their familiarity with technology or different texts, while also being indoctrinated into a field and its theories and histories. So I feel like GTAs inhabit this very fascinating liminal space where they are both shaping and being shaped by the teacher practices that they are performing. And so I see GTAs as really a group of people who bring a lot to the conversation and yet oftentimes are looked at as a problem or as struggling rather than someone who brings in something new. So for my dissertation, I've decided to take these experiences and really root my ideas and viewpoints on hearing those voices, getting a sense of those ideas, and really celebrating the opportunities that come with GTA training and getting a sense of what other people's histories look like up until this moment and how that shapes and impacts their teacher identities. So the following portfolio is a catalog of my thinking up until this point, and I look forward to continuing my dissertation work as I get to kind of explore these topics more.